Hi, welcome to another episode of I Own a Business, where we focus on helping practice owners grow the practice of their dreams. And I'm your host, Dr. Steve Vargo, and I have with me Dr. Todd Cohen. And Todd is an IDOC member I've gotten to know over the last few years. And through our conversations, I've admired his approach to dry eye. He's embraced technology and advanced diagnostic and treatment techniques to grow his dry eye specialty. And he's also founded the Midwest Dry Eye Center, a unique treatment facility that provides cutting edge resources and modern equipment to diagnose and provide relief for patients suffering from dry eye. So, how are you doing, Todd?
Doing well, thank you very much. Sitting here in lovely Chicago, no snow or rain, so it's a good day here.
Not yet, but
Yeah,
being from Chicago,
yeah,
it's not too far away. You got a couple more months.
yep.
A couple more months. So, Todd, something I find, and this probably won't come as any surprise to you, but a lot of ODs, I believe, dabble in specialties. They dabble in it for like dry eye, and probably for a variety of reasons. One, I believe, is the process can sometimes seem a little bit daunting and complex when you look at various treatment protocols and technology that's available and marketing. I think a lot of doctors get caught up in a little bit of analysis paralysis. So, but at some point, you just got to get started. If you're going to make
hmm
this happen as a specialty, you just have to get started. So, what I'd like to go over is just kind of an overview of the basics. What would an OD who's maybe sitting on the sidelines right now need to get started? And then at the end, we'll ask how people can connect with you if they want to get more support from you, more
Sure.
coaching from your end. So I'm curious initially, what led to the creation of the Midwest Dry Eye Center?
So I started. I've been in a study group. My peers, all of us, started studying, working for a certain company about 15 years ago. And one of the doctors in our group out west was one of the first people to get LipiFlow, and this he paid full price sticker for it. This is like over a decade ago, and he presented one of our peer group meetings saying, "You got to get this. You got to bring it. It's a game changer for my practice." So a few of us went in. We talked to the reps, and we bought LipiFlow. So I'm always of mind that if I'm going to buy something, I want to make sure I have a whole plan of implementation, both with myself, with my staff, and my associates, in order to make this a success. I mean, how many peers do we know that they buy the shiny box, and 8 months later, Susie the technician leaves, and now the box is collecting dust, and you just got tens of thousands of dollars sitting in the closet. So that's how I got started with it. And so we did a whole promotional event. I was very fortunate to have one of the national sales trainers as my sales rep for the LipiFlow, and this was 7 years ago, and we made it a resounding success off the get-go. I mean, basically, after the first night, we almost paid for the machine, believe it or not. We had like 15 people, and had a spa night. It was great. So I ended up forming the Midwest Dry Eye Center. It has its own S corp numbers, a sub S of my main practice. It's got its own phone line. It's got its own website that I pay monthly for. We get about 1,100 page hits a month. You'd be surprised at how many people are looking for dry eye because most of our peers or ophthalmologists are doing a shoddy job of it. Here's some eye drops. Oh, this drop was here. Let me grab these drops. So I formed the Midwest Dry Eye Center for a couple different reasons. One, to make it its own entity in terms of referrals. It really helps with our peers to remove that auspice of competition. I'm going to refer to the Midwest Dry Eye Center versus Foresight Vision, which is my main practice. So that's helped a ton with a lot of the commercial docs. It says it's specialized, and it really helps with referrals. So that's why I formed it, for the main reasons of that. Now, since then, it's kind of expanded a lot. We work very closely with ophthalmologists, and it's kind of go on from there. But to answer your initial question, you've got to bring in myography. You cannot treat what you can't see. So there's different devices on the market. You can do myography as part of your pre-testing. You can develop a fee for it, or however you want to do it. But that identifies the problem. When 86% of people with dry eye, the glands are the problem. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. So that's how we've implemented it and made it a resounding success. And that's kind of how we started with that.
A lot of the terms we hear that have sort of grown in popularity are terms like dry eye center, dry eye spa, dry eye clinic. You've taken that approach of separating the two entities. Is that approach an approach you would recommend? Because I think sometimes we see this dry eye specialty integrated into their traditional eye care practice. And
I
others,
think
it's completely separate, maybe even a separate building and certainly a separate entity. What are the pros and cons of those two different approaches?
so. The pros are it has its own unique identity for referrals, for keeping track on the schedule. If you know, I mean, you don't want to obviously poach any patients, right? But we have people that drive from Wisconsin and a couple hours away, and I know well and good that there's amazing hospitals in Chicago that have amazing ophthalmologists, but no one's treating dry eye or at least marketing it or spending the time with patients as they should, or at least if doctors are in their own office, it's like, oh, and dry eye. I mean, if you Google dry eye, LensCrafter says they do dry eye, right? Everyone, dry eye is just giving eye drops. That's not going to the core of the problem and having the technology. So, like, I'm on these Facebook groups that have 15,000 people, common citizens, not medical professionals, and they just want to scream. And I chime in every once in a while, and they just don't. The public does not know where to start. So I think having a separate entity will help with your Google search or SEO stuff, saying that it's its own dry eye center, because I think that even the common layperson knows if a dry eye center separately, they know that you've invested technology. You're not just like, oh, my eyes are scratchy. Here's some, refresh drops or something like that. You're going more in depth of it. The cons, I mean, I always looked at my practice as three pillars: my main comprehensive eye care, my orthokeratology practice, and my dry eye stuff. And those two of those three pillars are pretty much recession proof and insurance proof for the most part. So those would continue our growth. So I think if you're a doctor these days with the law of diminishing returns, with all the major vision plans, you've got to be creative, invest in technology, invest in implementation of technology, and get it going in your practice.
So if I heard you right, having that separate entity, it's made it easier to get referrals because there's I think
No
I heard
question.
you say less threatening because certainly
No
with
question.
ODs, it's not, I
Yep.
think there's always that fear when you refer somebody away that the
Right.
other doctor is going to steal that patient because
Right.
they have their own optical as part of that.
Right. I mean, we've got our Midwest Dry Eye Center brochures with all their stuff in plenty within, like, a 20-minute radius of us, of all these commercial places, and they're sitting in there. Now, if you were a patient, you're like, wait a minute, why is, ABC Optical here, or whatever you want to call it, Jones Optometry here, but I'm here it's sitting in LensCrafters or whatever the case may be. So it really sets a subspecialty knowing that referring you. So it really removes that huge barrier of referral entry that a lot of our peers, wouldn't necessarily refer to. I think it's specialized.
As far as marketing goes, do most of your patients come from referrals? Is it marketing? Is it internal? Are you getting people from the outside?
We
Give
get
me a
so
sense of
many
where they're
people.
coming from.
We get so many people from the outside. It's astonishing to me. I mean, we have people that drive from Peoria, that's 2.5 hours away. We've got people from the Champaign. I mean, people come just because they're looking and they're so upset and frustrated and everything like that. I mean, one of my recent patients, she had eyelid surgery. After eyelid surgery, her eyes were dry as the desert. The eyelid surgeon said, "Oh, I don't do dry eye. I just cosmetic stuff. Go to this ophthalmologist." This ophthalmologist says, you got to wear glasses the rest of your life, just like I do. You got to deal with it. And this lady's like retired. She's very, very well to do. She golfs all the time in retirement. She's like, that's not, she was in tears at this guy's office. The ophthalmologist, like, just use eye drops and I don't, you're never going to wear contacts again. So she came in because one of her girlfriends referred her. Actually, no, she found us online, right? Because she's like not putting up with it. She was crying to me in the exam room. And then it was the best advertisement because my front desk area was full of patients. She goes, Dr. Cohen, you've changed my life and this and this. I'm like, all I did is fit her with the appropriate contact lens. We have all these dry eye treatments. It's changed her life. So she found us from the outside. So a lot of people are searching because they're upset. We do get a fair amount of referrals coming in from some of the commercial places on a monthly basis. And a few here and there, but a lot of them actually come, Steve, from our ophthalmologists we do work with, right? So we an oculoplastic ophthalmologist, he refers us at least, I'm not joking, at least 2 patients a week because he's like, Todd, I've got all my patients have dry eye afterwards. He goes, I don't know the first thing about it. Refer to me. Okay. And in fact, I think we might be able to bring up another satellite clinic in his office because there's such a need. Our other ophthalmologist that does tons of premium cataract and IOLs and LASIK. He has actually made it a standard protocol for anyone that's getting a specialty implant to have dry eye assessment and treatment prior to surgery, because it's published, well-known, published by a Dr. Matozian, who's on the East Coast, that 40% of her measurements would have been incorrect had she not treated and addressed the meibomian gland dysfunction before dry eye. So the worst thing an ophthalmologist wants to do is cut twice. That's the last thing. And as part of the protocol, that generates a lot of patients as well. But yeah, so those are the main resources for us. We're really working on, it's so hard to get peers to refer. I'm really trying to work on specialists, dermatologists, rheumatologists, because you talk to an internist, it's impossible. I mean, I've been in practice for 22 years. It's impossible for them to they'll even remember to refer you for diabetics. I mean, it's pathetic, but they're so busy. And I send these most comprehensive reports, and to ever get a referral from an internist is next to impossible, at least what I found. And I'm in a medical building. The specialists, I'm trying to target like the dermatologists and things like that for certain aspects of dry eye, because there's so much cross-pollination. It's amazing.
Is some of this coming from an online presence? I get the impression too that obviously fostering the relationships with the right providers, because I've heard that before as well, is that, well, we're trying, we're reaching out, we're going to their office, we're giving their staff cookies, but we're not getting anything in return. But yeah, I think if you foster those relationships with the right people is what I'm hearing. But also tell me a little bit about your online presence as well, because if I'm understanding you, it sounds like some of these people are finding you getting frustrated elsewhere and they're finding you online.
Yeah, so we have a ton of online presence in terms of our MidwestDryEyeCenter.com, SayGoodbyeToDryEye.com. I'm a key opinion leader for Dry Eye Rescue. There's Dr. Locator on there. We have our own Facebook group for Midwest Dry Eye Center. So all those types of things. I mean, our Google page has just exploded, and it's worth my, amount that I'm paying per month, because it generates, look, the fact of the matter is, if I get one patient a month, it's more than pays for my spend on my website for that. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how people are finding us. And obviously word of mouth referrals. I mean, this one doctor's like, I don't know what you did with Mrs. Jones, but basically it's like, he's like, you've done amazing with her. I'm like, well, I know what I'm doing. I was joking. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I'm not a rookie here, but yeah, because they just don't have the foggiest idea about it.
So next week is Vision Expo West. I don't know if you'll be there or not, but anyone who has ever attended one of these conferences, or if you haven't attended, you walk in, there's this huge, massively huge showroom with equipment technology as far as the eye can see. A lot of that technology is dry eye related products technology. My point here being, there's so much of it. And you've alluded to a few pieces of equipment that you bought, but again, I think some of the analysis paralysis doctors get is, where should I invest my money? What areas, what technology, what products, what drops, what supplements? And I'm not looking for specific referrals, because I talk to you, I talk to another dry eye specialist, and they're going to have different opinions. I'm just curious, from your perspective, how did you assess and analyze the technology and products that you offer? What was your criteria for saying, I'm going to go with this particular product or whatever it was?
Technology, right? So we started with the Oculus Keratograph, which is widely used in dry eye. It does a whole tear report for patients. It does meibography, looks at the glands, and also does a very important thing called non-invasive tear breakup time. So there's no variability in between the doctor sitting behind the microscope counting how long it takes for tears to fall apart. The machine does it automatically. Then you have something objective to show the patient, 2 months after treatment at your follow-up, how much that's improved, right? And also understanding the fact that dry eye should really, that's more of a marketing term. We like to call it ocular surface disease, because, dry eye implicates, oh, use eye drops and that's it. No, it gets worse. It doesn't go away. It's chronic. So I started with the Keratograph to do objective measurements of the glands, the tear breakup time. Basically, we bought the technology. Now, when it comes to looking for what to use in terms of treatment, you can spend anywhere from, $3,000 up to $30,000, or even a lot more if you want to get into aesthetics. But I would take a look and see what all the companies now have. You can walk before you run. They'll let you try before you buy. The biggest thing is making sure you have an implementation, a protocol, a staff process in order to make it successful. And you got to get everyone on board. And the reason, get the staff buy-in. This is why we bought this
thing, this item of technology to improve our patients' lives, improves our profitability, do more comprehensive care for our patients, whatever the case may be. So there's a lot that goes into it, but you kind of have to figure out from your peers and things like that. I mean, we went with the LipiFlow for the main reason that it's the FDA approved. The way it works is unique in the situation that it works, and you have Johnson & Johnson behind you. And it works, phenomenally well for us. Since then, we've added more technology like radio frequency. We added in March to work on the aesthetics, I think, to complement our dry eye as well. And so, yeah, I also would say, so bare minimum, you should definitely get a myographer to identify the gland loss, because a picture says 1,000 words for patients. And number two, you absolutely, positively have to get slit lamp cameras, because when you're behind the microscope, to show a patient their blink, to show them their dry spots, to show them their lids, you have to do that. I mean, you should, if you're doing it correctly, you'll pay for the thing threefold the first year you buy it. So there's lots of different devices out there. It's like shopping for a car. Figure out what suits your needs the best, and go from there. That's my advice.
I want to circle back real quick to something you mentioned twice. You mentioned staff and getting staff buy-in, and you have that one person in charge of something and they quit and the technology just collects dust. It's hard, as you know, to implement change. So an office looking at implementing new technology or a new service, it's not just your own effort, it's trying to get the staff on board as well. Any tips on that in terms of how you approach the staff and said, we've got a new service, we've got some new technology, and get everyone on board with that?
So you really have to do your research. The company that wherever you're buying technology for, it's in their best interest to really train your staff appropriately. Make sure you give them a couple days with a trainer of this device, whatever it is, to work on the training and things like that. The implementation, and that's where a lot of the people struggle. I mean, there's so many devices that people have bought, they're just kind of sitting idle. And so actually that's one of the projects I'm working on currently with a couple different companies, is to increase usage and increase staff implementation and training, because there's a lot of key words that, as you said earlier, the doctors kind of are in this fog of, where do I start? Do I dabble? Do I go in the deep end with 2 feet? But there's a lot of different techniques in presentation to patients, and having the staff reemphasize the message, and having the doctor not sell or close the treatment. You want to have your staff do it in terms of the words and the packages, and a lot goes into it. So you have to get the staff to buy in. I mean, for instance, like the LipiFlow, the patients in the beginning are like, you do it, right? I'm like, I don't even know how to turn the machine on. So that's the wonderful thing about this, is I'm in the office while their procedures are being done, but I'm concurrently doing eye emergency checks, comprehensive eye exams, ortho K at the same time. The staff is doing patients in the treatment room. So and the staff really gets empowered to be able to know that they're the ones doing this. They're providing the treatment. They feel I'm the only one of the few offices in the Midwest that has all 4 of my staff members that do this certified. So that gives them a level of competency that they feel like they got extra training, and they're certified in, LipiFlow perhaps, or you could do it for the lid debridement, the BlephX machine. And there's lots of different things. And so when you get the staff to buy in and you say about it, and patients are happy, that really goes far. But you got to get right. Sally, the technician, leaves, and then nothing happens. And it's got to, lead as the business owner, but lead the staff, and they'll follow. So
Todd, I want to leave ODs with this, and I think it requires the disclaimer that not everyone will get the same results. That being said, generally speaking, how much additional revenue could an OD expect to earn from a dry eye specialty?
So the way I look at it is like this. Whatever procedure you end up doing in terms of LipiFlow or any of the MyBoflow or any of the other thermal pulsation things, when you look at the fact, and I have a patented flow chart that I've developed with a healthcare attorney and everything like that, and I've even franchised my dry eye practice, a couple of different practices, to help them treat dry eye too. So when you follow the protocols that I've kind of established and have the patient flow, because you see them for a comprehensive eye exam, you identify dry eye, have them come back for an ocular surface evaluation, do the treatment. Then there's at least 4, possibly more follow-ups throughout the year. And the fact that the treatments and everything else, you should have no less annually than $2,000 per patient you're treating. No less, because you have the treatments, they're buying products from you. There's even if you don't want to carry products through certain websites, Dry Eye Rescue, some other places, you can actually have passive income by just recommending products and they use their code. You get credit for that. Between products, treatments, and medical visits in your office, it should be at least $2,000, if not more, annually per patient. So you can do the math from there, I think. And the thing is that aside from the medical eye exams that are being billed to Blue Cross or Medicare or whatever that case may be, there's a lot of out-of-pocket costs, and you have to have the right verbiage to talk to patients exactly why it is out of pocket. And there's some certain things that really resonate with patients. And we have an extremely high conversion when it comes to that. I mean, doctors are gun shy when it comes to spending people's money, but at the same time, these people are gallivanting around the globe on winter vacation. So you got to make sure it's a priority, and you got to treat dry eye disease, ocular surface disease, as glaucoma, right? It just is as you want to be proactive and not reactive. So, oh, I'm not having dry eye symptoms yet. Yeah, but your glands are 90% gone. You're going to be yelling, coming back to me in 5 to 7 years, and you can't, keep contacts in your eyeballs. So you want to treat it like being proactive, and patients appreciate that. And, 22 years ago when I graduated optometry school, the only people that had dry eye were middle-aged menopausal women. Now, teenagers, college students, because of the lack of blinking on the computer, the gland atrophy, it's just nuts. So it's the lowest hanging fruit that you can do in an optometric practice, even if you spend $0 on external marketing, on a website, on sending out postcards, Facebook ads. You don't have to do that. It's sitting in your chair right now.
Yeah, so the upside financially is significant. There's a large market for it, and it's also just a great service. I got to witness. My wife has really severe dry eye, so I got a front row seat to see what that actually looks like. Because I think even as doctors, sometimes we get a little bit numb to the patient that comes in and says, "My eyes feel kind of dry." When you hit that area of severity that people are. I mean, in my wife's case, she was just miserable. And I saw, wow, this is, and she's not alone. There's a large market out there just like her that's just looking for help and frustrated with other options. And people like you mentioned, the ophthalmologist that just gave her some drops, said, you got to live with it. She went through some of that as well. And to see the market for that patient base has grown quite a bit. So yeah, a tremendous service. So thanks. Yeah. Thanks so much, Todd. Where can people learn more about you? I know you work with other ODs. This has all been very helpful, but if they want to reach out to you for more support or coaching or consulting, how would they find you?
Well, you can go to MidwestDryEyeCenter.com as our dry eye website. I'll give my, for iDoc members, of course, I'll give my personal email. It's just Todd, Todd, G as in Gary, C as in cat. So toddgc@gmail.com. And you can email me and reach out to me that way, or contact me through the Midwest Dry Eye Center website. And I'm always happy to help out. I mean, I've had a couple practices that are, within an hour's radius of me that they've done phenomenally with implementing a lot of the protocols we've set up for them. And, these are practices that we're seeing 200 to 300 eye exams a month already, but yet they're mostly basic vision exams, and the revenue per patient with dry eye is, 2 to 3 times that of selling a pair of eyewear up front with after the eye insurance takes their hits. So yeah, so I'm happy to help out any of our fellow iDoc members.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, Todd. I'll let you get back to seeing those dry eye patients now. So
Sounds good.
Thanks so much for your time. And if you would like more information about iDoc and how we work with ODs to help them grow the practice or to grow their practice, you can find out more at iDoc. That's idoc.net. So thanks, Todd. And thanks everyone for listening.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, Steve. Take care.